If you're wondering where else you can find the Smark Foundation podcast, you can stream our show on Pandora, Spotify, and nearly anywhere else you normally stream your podcasts from, including our home at rss.com. We're also on YouTube, featuring not only full episodes of our show, but individual segments from each episode for easier content digestion. For any of those outlets, just type Smark Foundation Podcast into the search bar to find us. If you'd like to interact with us directly, we're very active on our new social media home, Blue Sky. You can contact the show at smarkfndnpodcast.bsky.social for general pro wrestling or podcast comments. And if you want to get to know us each a little bit more on a personal level, Aaron's personal account is at aaronsmark.bsky.social, and Adam's is at adamsmarkfndnpodcast.bsky.social. If you'd like to further support our show, you can visit our shop at smarkfoundationpodcast.printful.me to purchase various merchandise with our show's logo on it. Wear your SFP t-shirt or hoodie around town and spread the word about the show that strives to bring fans together around what's great about pro wrestling today, brought to you by a couple of everyday elder millennial wrestling fan dads. Now back to the show. All right, here we are with the shine. This is AEW Dynamite from January 29th, 2025, the Von Braun Center in Huntsville, Alabama, and I sure hope that's not named for Werner Von Braun, but oh boy. I bet it is, though.
Let's not ask.
I bet it is, because NASA's in Alabama and stuff, and oof. But that guy was a Nazi, so
He were a Nazi.
yeah, complicated stuff our aviation programs in the 1950s and 60s. By the way, a free plug. If you've not seen the Apple Plus series For All Mankind, you should definitely check it out. Very cool, alternate history kind of thing. Premise is the Soviets get to the moon first. And like 2 months before the Americans would have made it. And things just butterfly from there. So it's very, very good. I think the new season, I think it's later this year sometime, it'll be season 5. It'll be great. Anyway, now enough talk about Werner Von Braun. We're going to talk about AEW Dynamite, which started off with Will Ospreay versus Brian Cage. Brian Cage came to make a point, I think, because he doesn't get these opportunities anymore. Like he's in the tag team, but he's been on TV, but he's never really been a focus. So I feel like he's one of those guys that he always shows out when he comes out, and he does. Will Ospreay is the perfect opponent for him because he's a flippy guy who's still like, it's still impressive for him to get thrown around because he's got some mass to him still now, and Brian Cage looks like, an action figure from 1987. So. He's doing things like catching in midair for suplexes and all the crazy feats of strength and stuff. Everybody looked great here. What I thought was interesting was that for the second time inside of a month, Will Ospreay gets the finish with the Styles Clash. I was kind of surprised at that. It was great. At one point he survived an avalanche F5, so it was a great comeback. But he kind of got it out of nowhere after flipping out of a clothesline. It gets him the Styles Clash 1, 2, 3, and then of course they beat him down afterwards. I think maybe that's why they didn't go for like a finish, like a hidden blade, or whatever, because maybe they wanted to give Cage some kind of saving face thing so that he could contribute to the beatdown later. I don't know, but Archer hits the ring, and then Omega hits the ring, and then Fletcher and Takeshita are there, and they hit stereo tombstone powder variations, and so the numbers got him. Haha, this is going to be the same thing throughout the entire thing because there are only 2 of them against the entire Don Callis family, and now they're teasing a 5th guy. Well, 6 if you count Don Callis himself. So we gonna give the baby faces some friends here or not, guys? Like, what's going on?
All
But
the
I mean, the
baby
match
faces
itself was
possible
good.
friends are fighting the Death Riders right now.
That's true. It's
Which
true.
Will even talked about. He was like, I would be fighting the Death Riders, mate, but these assholes keep getting in my way.
I loved that they did that last week. I was like, oh, finally, like somebody kind of addresses it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, at least.
and it is convenient that Darby isn't there to call him out on it too, since he was the one who was like, hey, you really should be in this right here. But now that he's not there, nobody can really be on his back about it. So like it's convenient for the storyline.
Yeah.
Um, what was more interesting, I mean, and I'm invested in this stuff too. It's Will Ospreay. I'm gonna be invested in his stuff. It's Kenny Omega. I'm gonna be invested in his stuff. But what was more interesting to me was what happened directly after that, because Renee's in the back and she's trying to find Swerve Strickland, and all of a sudden, here comes Hangman Adam Page, blows past Renee because he has no time for Renee anymore. I'm sorry, Renee. Like, I love you, but like, it's Hanger and he's right and you're wrong. Sorry, I just um, but he burst into Swerve looking for. Why was Page looking for Swerve? I thought he was like trying to bury that. Like, oh, this is interesting. Like, that alone set Blue Sky on fire faster than he set Swerve's house on fire.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, what? It's monumental kind of stuff. But he is not there. Swerve isn't there. So he just like, ugh. And Page bumps into MJF on the way out. I love the way that they make these. Everybody's bumping into each other backstage because it's like a real world back there, a real world setting. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, of course you're gonna bump into this guy and this guy, because everybody's back there. Not everybody's out there in the ring. If they're not out there in the ring, they're probably in the back somewhere. Like,
Yeah.
you never know who you're gonna bump into. It's a small arena. But yeah, he just kind of looks at him and then just moves past him, and MJF kind of curses him out a little bit, and then like heads back to Renee. He's like, "Oh, there's a microphone in front of my face. I get to speak. Great, wonderful. I'm MJF. That's what I do." And he just after kind of taking a dig at Hangman, he decides to dig a grave for Jeff Jarrett. So he's like, yeah, tonight's the last Outlaw's last ride. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I heard that somewhere before. Like, I'm pretty sure we heard that like before WrestleMania 20, or not 20, for in 2020, whichever the one that one was, 38, 36, whatever it was.
37.
The weird one with the Boneyard match. But yeah, so that was cool. I liked that. I like where that's going because it's involving multiple people and it's drawing everybody in together. It's like, what could Adam Page come after all this time, after beating him in the lights out match and having like, what could he possibly want with Swerve? I have a hypothesis, but I have no, that I want to. I know what I want to see. I want to see him get back in Swerve's path, because he doesn't know who, after what happened with Christopher Daniels, he doesn't know who he is anymore if he's not beating the crap out of Swerve. And if he beats Swerve again, this time on the record, maybe it'll put him back on the path that he thinks is the right way to go.
Maybe.
But well, I also like the suggestion I saw on Blue Skies, like maybe tag team partners after they make up. Be interesting. The most dangerous men in AEW teaming up together. Interesting. I don't hate it. I don't prefer it, but I don't hate it.
If they were on a team, even as the two most dangerous men, that would allow Swerve to kind of lighten up a little bit. And wouldn't it be great if it was like a buddy comedy where Hangman is the grumpy straight man, but
Yeah.
Nana is more of the comedic relief half of it.
Yeah,
like he's just fed up
they're
with
both
that damn
so
dancing,
serious and
but
both take each other so seriously. But then Nana is back there doing Nana things, doing the dance, shilling his coffee, making sure that Hangman doesn't steal his weed again.
Hey, it
I
is
still can't believe that
plants.
in kayfabe canon that actually did happen. He did actually steal Nana's weed that they got from some teenager in a parking lot of a high school. Oh, love it. Okay, so all right, we gotta talk about this match. This is probably the low point of the night. Jeff Jarrett versus Claudio. The thing I didn't like about it was not that they cheated to win. I don't mind. They're heels. The Death Riders. It's what they do. They do it not necessarily because they have to, but because they can at times. That's fine. This is my bias showing, okay, and I will readily admit that. But what the heck was Claudio doing selling so much for Jeff frickin' Jarrett? Like, this is Claudio Castagnoli. He is John Moxley's right-hand man because he's a destroyer. And he's selling those stupid punches and chop blocks from 56-year-old or whatever he is, Jeff Jarrett. Come on.
Okay.
I don't believe it. Nobody believes it.
It is apparent
it's garbage.
that Tony Khan has a very healthy respect for Jeff Jarrett. And he wants to send him out good. I mean, look at the out he gave Sting. Okay. At least Jeff isn't no-selling everything. Okay. I mean,
I get that.
But
like, ugh.
But
it made Claudio. Claudio has been presented as a freaking killer, as an absolute monster, and this was not that.
You see, in an alternate timeline, a correct choice was made.
Yep.
And at the end of this match, after he loses, which I don't disagree with him losing to Claudio. Of course he's going to lose to Claudio. But in the correct timeline, after this match, Claudio and Wheeler Yuta are beating up on Jeff Jarrett, and this draws Jay Lethal into this feud. And now Jay Lethal has a bone to pick with the Death Riders. AEW has a new team member on Team AEW. And
one we haven't seen on TV for months and months.
And you tell me when I'm telling lies, Jay Lethal and Claudio would be a freaking banger.
That would be great.
So
I mean, that would be great. Like, I have some issues with Jay Lethal too, but I mean, guess what? Like, I have issues with most wrestlers because most of them are dirtbags. So I mean, he was named in Speaking Out too. So
was he? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I believe it was. I think it was passing nude photos around, if I'm not mistaken. But I correct someone. One of our followers correct me on Blue Sky if I'm wrong about that, because I want to say that's what that was. But please correct me if I'm wrong. I would love to be wrong.
Yeah.
But I just the match was nothing special because Jeff Jarrett matches are nothing special ever. Again, like my friend George says, he's the world's most okayest wrestler. I mean, he's in great shape for his age. I'll give him that. Fantastic shape for his age. And he can still tell a story, but he's not interesting in the ring. Like, he's punch kick. He's very, very Tennessee. Punch kick a palooza.
I mean, they were in Mid-South, man.
Yeah.
Of course, they were going to set up
I mean, the crowd was behind him. They definitely chose the right place to have this match.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, they did.
But yeah, Jarrett struggles to get to his feet afterwards, but MJF comes in and blasts him with the Dynamite Diamond Ring, and he's like, "Yeah, I respect my elders, so I won't say I told you so." And then he leaves,
which is effectively him saying, "I told you so."
Yeah, I mean, anytime anybody says, "I'm not going to say I told you so," that's them telling you that they
they might as well just say, "I told you so." People do
that's just being passive aggressive about it.
Don't dance around it. If you're going to say it, say it. Say it with some chutzpah.
I mean, he's going to get heat for it either way, so he might as well be passive aggressive about it and take off more people with that. Anyway, match was next. Ricochet says he wants to have a fancy sit down on Collision with Renee next week. He doesn't want to do it here. He wants to get dressed up and do it. So we'll see that on Collision. That sets that up. And then AR Fox versus Ricochet. Again, like I said last week, love me some AR Fox. Because of the shared history that all three of these guys have, everything had meaning and purpose. This is probably the match of the show. Again, not commenting on the man that Ricochet is, but the performer he is, he's still incredible in there. And this new attitude is much, much more of a character than he's ever been allowed to show anywhere. I like, too, that I think this was probably, I suspect that this was probably a respect thing from Ricochet to AR Fox, because he hit 2 finishers on him to put him away. He had the Spirit Gun and then the Vertigo. So it's like, okay, I know one isn't going to do this, so I need to be sure about it. And so he does it too. And technically, if you want to be technical about it, you could make a case for 3, since he used the code breaker in WWE too. So he did 3 in a row.
Yeah.
If you want to look at it that way. So mad respect to AR Fox from Ricochet in the storytelling of it. But yeah, after the match, we were gonna get some scissoring, and not the fun Anthony Bowens kind. But Swerve is out here. Swerve is here to make the save. He attacks Ricochet, and he just beats the crap out of him for like 90 seconds or so. And then Ricochet does this again. I hate to praise him because of the stuff that came out recently about him, but like he grabs Fox and he holds the scissors to his throat like he's gonna do it to get Swerve to back off, because remember last week Swerve and Fox shook hands after the match, so they're cool now. Mm-hmm. So it's like, and I thought, man, that's a great bit of cowardly heel business, isn't it? Like, that's. And then later on Collision, we'll see that they actually kind of followed up on that by it's not so cut and dry that Ricochet this character is a cowardly heel, because it's not that simple. And I'll cover that in a little bit. But all in all, I thought it was a great match and a great segment afterwards. Thumbs way up to this.
Yeah.
If Ricochet is gonna be on my TV, at least he's entertaining me. I'll take that. That's fine. And AR Fox is getting involved 2 weeks in a row. He's been on my TV. I can't hate on that at all. They set up some stuff. Jay White versus Wheeler Yuta is just kind of there. Like, it was okay. It wasn't awful. It wasn't. I wouldn't say it was boring, but it was just like, Like, it's. One thing I would say that I would like to see from Wheeler Yuta is different gear. Like, the Death Riders have a certain aesthetic, and he doesn't really fit with the gear that he wears. Like, I mean, Pac wears like the most basic of wrestling gear. It's black trunks, black everything, knee pads, kick pads, boots. Okay, that can fit in with anything. But everybody else is just like, I'm gonna wear a white A shirt or whatever they call it. I can't call it the 2 names that I know it as, because both of them are offensive. I mean,
oh man,
it's true though.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't call it a wife beater, and I can't call it a guinea tee. So, like,
I've never heard it called a guinea tee. Wow,
I've seen it written on the package that way.
What?
I'm like, yeah, that's the only way I know of that one.
Oh my god!
Like, I was like, oh, like, I'm sure
they call them
shirts
on the packages.
Shirts,
but they
now.
definitely call them wife beaters. I mean, that's
yeah, like that's the colloquialism, but I don't feel comfortable, calling them that anymore.
But yeah, that's what.
I'm not that person anymore that doesn't care about it. Yeah. I care a little bit too much now. But all of them like wear A shirts now. Yeah. Like, it's A-shirts, even Claudio with his like I don't know. Wheeler's just a little bit still too colorful.
Claudio's got his
Like,
jacket with the ripped up Constitution on it, or whatever that is.
yeah, what is that?
I don't know.
I read something somewhere that
somebody
that's
on Blue
like,
Sky said what it was.
is that like a Warhammer reference or something?
Maybe, I don't
Warhammer
know.
40,000. I want to say something. Something. I thought I saw something online
I would love
regarding
someone to
that.
fill me in on that if you are either into
Yeah,
Warhammer
because it
or
looks
Swiss.
cool.
You know.
Yeah, it looks cool. You know, it's got the wax seals on it,
Yeah.
which I always think that's a really cool aesthetic. Um, I still wish we sealed envelopes with wax simply because I think it's awesome.
Word.
But you know, it's classy. It's classy.
Classy.
But yeah, like I just wish you to kind of match the aesthetic a little bit more of the group.
Yeah.
Like, or if he's not going to go that way, I mean, he's definitely trying to appropriate everything about Bryan Danielson. So why not dress like him too? If you're not going to dress like the rest of the group, how about you dress like Bryan Danielson? Because you're growing out the hair, you're doing the Bisaiku knee, you're doing the cattle mutilation, like you're trying to appropriate his role in the group.
Man, with that hair right now, I feel like he's trying to appropriate a sheepdog.
It's pretty long. It's very shaggy dog.
Dude, I saw the picture of him the other day. I was like, my gosh, guy, life is only pain.
Yeah. He's in his emo phase
Totally.
for sure. But yeah, Jay White hits the Blade Runner off of a Busaiku knee attempt for the win. In second Blade Runner for good measure because screw Wheeler Yuta.
Yeah.
John Moxley comes in though, and you know they put the boots to him, and you know how it goes. Then Cope comes out, Radio FTR there, yay! They make the save. At that point, Dax gets on the mic and cuts a promo about something other than his family, which is great, awesome, little versatility. Don't get me wrong, I love Dax. I love Dax Harwood, but you know, there's so many times you can hear the same promo before it gets a little stale. So you know, but yeah, do not misconstrue that. I love Dax Harwood. I'm ride or die for Dax Harwood. Mostly not because of his talent, but because of how open he is about his struggles with mental illness. Like anybody who opens up that side of themselves as somebody who has struggled and continues to struggle with mental illness chronically, like that's something that's really going to make you very sympathetic in my eyes. Like him, and like that's one of the reasons I'm a huge Eddie Kingston fan. I miss you, Mad King. I miss you so much. Please come back soon.
Exactly
Get yourself healed up and come back. I love that guy. That man. As soon as he walked through the door to challenge Cody, I'm like, who is that? Like I'd heard of Eddie Kingston, but I'd never actually seen him. And I'm like, holy cow, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And then he you know, a little while later he wrote that article for, I don't know if it was Rolling Stone or it was, or I don't know what it was. He wrote an article about his struggle, and I'm like, oh man, a lot of this stuff is ringing a lot of familiar bells. And it's like, how can I not be behind that guy? And Dax is the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm very much an advocate for people improving their mental health and destigmatizing mental health issues. I have people in my life who struggle with mental illness on the daily, various levels. It's really important to talk about. It's important to bring it to a public forum to talk about in a way that normalizes it. And Dax is one of those guys that does that, and very much opens himself up to criticism for it too. Like his, you know, when he was doing his podcast, he opened up his soul about that kind of stuff, and there were a lot of insensitive people who basically chased him off his podcast because he dared to do so, and that sucks.
Yeah,
and it shouldn't have happened that way. And you know, that just further entrenched my support for him. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's like because now he's a victim of bullying. On top of that, from a whole bunch of nameless jerk offs online. So yeah,
Yep.
so he gets on the mic and he's like, "Oh, what really ticked me off was when you uh, gave a concerto to Ricky Morton. You know, one of the best tag team wrestlers of all time. Blah blah blah." He said Dennis Condrey is here, though they didn't pan to him.
Yeah, I didn't see
Like, they
Dennis
didn't.
Condrey.
It's like what? Midnight Express are here? What? What? And they didn't show them. Like, why would you say that if you weren't going to pan to them? I don't know. Was he in the back visiting? I don't know. Whatever. You go from the rock and rolls to the midnights, and he's like, "Well, you know what? We're going to elevate this, so we're going to challenge you to a mid-south street fight on Collision, because a street fight isn't a street fight unless there's a something in front of it. Mid-south, St. Louis, Chicago, something." A street fight just ain't a street fight unless it's a this location street fight.
Everybody gets a street fight.
You get a street fight. You get a street fight. You get a street fight.
Yeah.
So yeah, TBS Championship main event of the show: Mercedes Moné versus Yuka Sakazaki. Match was good. Not as good as some of the. I'll say this. Yuka adds a very unique style to any match that she's in, and I think it may be kind of difficult to adjust to because she's coming at you from so many different angles and does so many unique spots. I'm wondering if maybe the chemistry just wasn't quite there. Like, you could see it, you could see the potential there, but just a couple of timing things were off. If they ran this back, I'm sure it would be, they would iron those out and they'd have a banger. But this was good to okay, or okay to good. And comes with the moneymaker from Mercedes Moné, and it actually looked okay this time, kind of a little bit. Like, I'm still not a big fan of her using that move, but at least she wasn't doing it on somebody who was way too tall for her to be doing it on. But yeah, the show quickly went off the air after that, so it must have been over on time. But yeah, I thought that ending with the TBS Championship was good because Mercedes Moné should be on TV, and defending the TBS Championship on TBS was something that had a surprising lack thereof. And the TNT Championship on TNT, like, for some reason, like, for a while there, the TBS Championship was only defended on TNT and vice versa. It was very strange. Like, it didn't make any sense. I'm glad that they're correcting that right now. And it looks like we're going to be setting up for Harley Cameron to step into that spotlight. But they're building to it. It's not quite yet. More on that, though, in a couple of segments, because that ends the shine, and now, done with the shine, we're going right into the Morton, the guy that we just mentioned a minute ago. We're going into his spot now.
Hell yeah.